Hi, it's Denise with Bed Springs and Burlap, and we're going to be demonstrating the flip-flop class for you today. This is using the Fusion line of mineral paint, and we'll go step by step, but we're going to start first by staining our boards with Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint Curio. It's her brown stain. So I'm going to show you mixing that first. I've got my boards laid out here. We're going to start 1 scoop of water and 1/3 of a scoop of Curio. So I'm just going to guess about 1/3 there. And then you can use a whisk or a popsicle stick. I've got a whisk just because it was here and handy. You want to make sure and get any chunks out. Mix really well. Always remember that milk paint can settle, so you want to continue to stir it as you use it. So once we're done mixing, we'll also give it a mix with the brush, and then you'll continue to mix with your brush every time you dip your brush in for more stain. And I'm just going to put my whisk in water there. If you're using popsicle stick, no need to do that. And I've got my Klingon brush here. I'm using the S30 today, just like the size for the boards we're working on. Go in with long, smooth strokes. And just remember, you don't need to keep going over it over and over. It is a stain, so it's going to get lighter as it dries, and milk paint will dry to a matte, chalky kind of look. Some knots in your board that you're having a hard time getting the stain down into, you can just give your brush a swirl over that knot, and it usually will work it down in. Oops. Now we'll just allow those to dry for a little while. Once they're nice and dry and have a nice matte look to them, we'll go on to our next step. So I've finished curioing my boards and they're dry. This one is completely dry, and I still have some wet spots on this. So this is what you're looking for. You want this dry, matte, chalky look. If you have some dark spots, wait to do this next step until it's completely dry, like these boards down here. So I'm just going to take my wax puck here, and I'm going to rub it over my boards. This is making a controlled resist for the paint. This will make the distressed look much easier to accomplish. So you'll continue this process across all of your boards as they're dry, and then you'll go in with, I have my paint here. I'm going to start with the coal black. And it just takes a tiny bit. So you'll need to have decided color-wise what boards you want to paint what color. So I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush here. And you don't have to get really super full coverage with this because you're wanting that distressed look anyway. So I'm not going to fight that resist. So there you can see I have some brown showing through still. That's going to be my resist area. And then you can move on to your next board. So you'll go with your colors across your boards this way. So the next step you're going to do is to lightly sand your boards. This is going to take you to the distressed look that you want. This is a step that if you were doing a piece of furniture, we would have you wait a bit longer to start. We're doing this now in this case because since we're going to stencil on these boards. So you just want to lightly sand to bring a little bit of that stain through, but we don't want to go all the way back down to the pine. So you're not really doing anything aggressive. Okay, so after you're finished sanding and you've got the boards the way you want them to look, just dust any sand that might be on your boards off. And then these are your sticks. We're going to put pieces together, so you want to turn them upside down. If you do not have the tools to do this at home or don't feel comfortable to, you can always bring it back to us and we'll help you put it together. Fit it all together. We're going to use some tight bond, quick and thick, to our we're going to do a little bit of a V shape here, making sure that we hit our boards all the way up. You don't want to not be in contact with any of them. I'll take my staple gun. Adjust it just a little bit. Okay, so we've got it all put together now. We're gonna drill holes for our rope. Again, this is a step that if you don't have the tools at home or feel comfortable doing it, it's something you can bring back to the store and Jill or I can help you. Okay, so we have 2 holes for your rope here, and then 1 on each side. So those will be where we'll put your ropes through after you've stenciled your boards. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to go to the stenciling step. So I have my stencil here, and we just need to decide about placement. I'm gonna do mine a little bit crooked on there. I think it's extra character, but you can place yours straight or higher, lower, however you like it. And I'm just going to use a little bit of painter's tape to secure it down just a little bit. And I have my paint and a little sponge here. And you'll always want to offload a little bit. Less is more with stenciling. If you're having troubles with bleed through, or if you've ever stenciled and had troubles with bleed through, you've got too much paint. So just always offload a little bit, have something you can offload with, and then here we go. Okay, so I've finished stenciling and we're just gonna rip the band-aid off, and I do have a little bit of bleeding, but not too bad. So I've got my small paintbrush here. I'm just gonna go in and fill in my bridge lines. So I still have my paint, and just kind of touch up there my bridges. And if you have a lot of bleeding, you can go in with a little bit of extra color and clean it up. I might get a little bit of black and fill in a little bit here in this F, but that's really the only place I feel like it's affected the lettering too much. And then here where I was on a seam, it's kind of like a bridge, even though there isn't a bridge there on my stencil. I'm just going to fill that in a little bit. So this is just kind of your personal, how you want it to look, how much touch up you do here. And you don't have to fill your bridges at all, but most people just like them filled in. So there's that. Like I said, I'll probably take a little bit of black there and just fill in that loop. But other than that, I feel really good about how my stencil looks. Happy with that. And so our next step after this dries, I'll go in with the hemp oil here. And I'm just going to start on my boards that I don't have stencil paint on. And your paint should be so thin on there that it's not going to take very long to dry anyway. And we've already done our sanding this time since we were going to stencil. We didn't want to have any oil that would prevent the stencil paint from adhering to our board. So we're just going to put the oil on, so you don't need a whole lot, and we're going to use our blue shop towel and wipe it back off. So there's that, and I've lost my blue shop towel. I'm gonna go get a blue shop towel. Okay, so here we're just going to wipe that excess off. good. So our last step we'll show you is putting your rope in, which I didn't grab either.
Dang it. Start again.
Okay, so you'll have a piece of cut rope that's the right length, but mine's not cut just yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and start through. So you'll want to twist the end of your rope in the direction it's going. That will make it easier to get through. If it gives you trouble, a good trick is to wrap your end, and you can probably use your leftover pieces that you tacked your stencil down with, and just loop it around your rope, and that will give you a better piece to pass through. So I've got my rope through there. I'm going to tie a knot back here. This is just going to secure that. We're going to go down through this closest hole. I'm going to go ahead and use my tape because my rope is wanting to fray apart. So you'll just take your kind of like a shoelace toggle thing. There used to be a movie that talked about that. Flugel binders. If you're not super young, you'll know what I'm talking about. I back up through this one, and you want to leave a little bit of loose there. And then we're going to make a kind of a knot here. And back down this side. And leave it a little loose again. Here we go. So I have a little bit of extra tail here. I'm just going to trim that off. And we have this last little board here. This is going to be your hanging device. So this will go here. Again, this is one of those steps if you're not comfortable with. We can handle for you here at the store. So those will just be stapled in. And there you go. You have a flip-flop.